¿Quién empieza? ¿Quién empieza?
Hi guys,
Hi.
welcome to Mexico. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
When did it hit you that you needed closure? Not for Toy Story, because Toy Story had closure in the last one, but for Woody.
Yeah.
Just so I know, you guys have all seen the film?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. It's a great question.
Yeah. Well, because you're right, because Toy Story 3, we talked about that a lot. Like, that did have this beautiful ending. That's the first thing we all were talking about.
There's no denying that.
There's no denying it. And a lot of people have said, like, why wasn't that the end? I mean, even we said it.
Yeah, when we're talking about number 4, we thought it was done. But what we did realize is that it is the end of Toy Story 3 is the end of Woody's time with Andy, and it kind of completes Andy's arc in a way because he's willing to let go of his toys. And but the more we talked about what would be next for Woody, and it was all just talk at first, just to see what would happen. We realized we had more of there's actually an arc to finish with Woody as well. So that's we said, well, let's keep going down this road and see what happens. But it was, we were always, the goal was we're going to make a story here that is worthy of the title of Toy Story 4, because obviously huge shoes to fill coming off of 1 through 3. So.
I mean, we went as far as saying we wouldn't do it if we didn't find that, if we didn't have a lane that we felt was appropriate. And it took a while. I mean, we kind of knew the basics, but when we started to put it together and it felt worthy to us, then we started to sit forward a little bit and realize there's real potential here.
Hi.
Yes. Hi.
Welcome to Mexico again. Like
Thank
for
you.
the 10th time, I think, like in the year that somebody tells you that.
Oh, I love it, yeah.
So, okay, we're talking about Toy Story, and obviously, I mean, like the name has toy. So you became like immediately the kid.
Yeah.
But I think that this movie is a lot about issues, about like who am I, what am I doing.
Yeah.
And especially with Forky, with Bo maybe. Have you ever felt that way? Like, who am I? I don't want to be this. I've been like something that it's related with the characters, but more in a grow-up way, not in a childhood way.
I think we
Definitely,
feel it all the time. I mean, I think everyone kind of does at a certain. I don't know. We can't speak for everybody, but there is something truthful about that.
I mean, every movie we work on, all we try and do is tell the truth. We don't try and lecture people or tell a life lesson or anything like that. We just try and tell the truth of how people feel and just real emotion. And I thought it was very fascinating that when the first trailer came out that with Forky in it, he has 2 lines in it. But the first line is, I don't belong here, and he runs away. And online people went, I get that character, that's me. It's like, wow, just 1 line of dialogue and people kind of understood, kind of got him. But to answer your question, absolutely, yes, I felt that way at the time. In fact, when we were creating Forky, I went home to my wife and was telling her about the character and how much fun it could be. And I said, yeah, and he says, like, I don't understand what's going on, what's happening. And she said, oh, that's you. And I went, wait, what are you talking about? And she said, well, your first time directing, you're still figuring out, like, that's you. And I went, oh, yeah, I guess so. I guess it is. So I think we put a bit of ourselves into all of our characters.
Yeah, all the characters have adult, I mean, they're toys, right? They're toys and they're fun. And we try to honor the truth of being a toy. But they have adult issues and problems and dynamics. It's basically a workplace dynamic that they have. And Woody is protective of his job, and kind of that's what drives him. He's nervous. He's kind of doubtful. There's a lot of humans anxious.
Yeah,
I mean, we joke about how the Toy Story, like, it's toys, and kids want to see it. Hey, good, it's toys. And then when you really look at the first Toy Story, it's about a guy who's afraid he's going to lose his job, and it's very relatable to us adults and parents as well. So it works on those 2 levels, and we just wanted to carry that through for the 4th one as well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, so
Hi.
I am Andres from Spoiler Time. This is for Josh.
Okay.
You already work at other Pixar projects, but this is your first movie like director.
Yes.
And what did you contribute to the story, and how did you feel about making your debut with the Toy Story film?
Wow. When I was asked to direct the film, it was a huge honor. I was very excited about it, and I was extremely terrified at the same time because it's a Toy Story film, and we love these characters. And at Pixar, they the first CG film was Toy Story, and that kind of allowed us to do more films at Pixar. So it is kind of it's the foundation of the studio, and we really love them and care about these characters, and they are like family to us because we're spending so much time with them. So it was a huge honor, and I'm very excited that I was able to do this. And your first question, the first part of your question was about
what did you contribute to the story?
What did I contribute? Well, I will say that a lot. Yeah, I was on it for 5 years, so quite a while. For me, the thing that emotionally I held on to was Woody and Bo Peep's relationship. I looked at my own relationship with my wife and how when we met in art school together, and how I had kind of one way of thinking, and she had another way of thinking, and kind of opened my eyes to that, and also just had so much confidence in me when I had none in myself. And so I thought, man, if I can get Bo and Woody to have that kind of relationship, where they've been together, and now that they're apart, they have two different viewpoints, but they can still come eye to eye on things. And Woody would grow from that. But I thought that was worth holding on to. So I came forward with that.
I'd also, just to add to that, I think that Josh is not only that, the kind of the emotional core, but really funny. I mean, this dude's just really funny, and responsible for many of the funniest scenes in all of the films we've done. And so when I kind of blur my eyes and look at the film, I think it's of the fourth. It's on top of all this stuff, it's the funniest one. I think that's just because that's your taste and sensibility, and it's really, I think it's really going to be fun for the audience.
Great. You did a great job.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, good afternoon. Nice to see you.
See you.
And, well, congratulations on your new position.
Oh, thank you.
I hope that doesn't mean you're not coming back to...
I'll find a way to come back.
Well, I have one question. Huh? I would love to go deep into Woody's choices.
Cool.
Because we see like he's trapped in the middle. He has a relationship with Andy, a relationship with Bonnie, but the friendship between Buzz and Buzz Lightyear was strong. I thought, and the relationship with Bo Peep, it was his love, no? So I would love for you to give me another vision to justify some of the part of the movie, and also how was recording that scene. I think Tim was very emotional. He couldn't even finish, and he recorded backwards.
That's
to
right.
you,
Yeah.
that's what I heard.
That's right.
So, and well, I think that is.
I mean, your question, you should speak to the structure and story, but your question is the actual question of Toy Story 4. That's what we got with when I think we were talking about, well, what's the real reason to do this? And if the real, structurally, if Andy is the end of Toy Story 3, that's a great kind of story movement. But Toy Story 1 is all about Woody and in Andy's room and his place in the world, and that is interrupted by Buzz. That drives the whole thing, all 4 films. And so if you just kind of think it through, well, the only thing you could do that's bigger than what was in 3 is that, go back to that. What's the opposite of that? Right? I mean, that was, we started saying that, I remember going, wow, that's...
The moment in there that really hits me, and I think is the only way that it could actually work, is Buzz saying, listen to your inner voice, which is kind of giving him permission. Yeah. Right? That's the thing. I don't think if Buzz had said that Woody would have made the choice to stay.
Yeah, and actually he's the one who told him Bonnie is gonna be.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So that was,
It was very emotional.
Yeah.
That's the important part of it. Their friendship drives it from the beginning of Toy Story and ends Toy Story.
It's a part of the maturity of life.
Exactly.
Because I can love you very much, but the best for us, maybe.
It's really hard to find that nuance too. I mean, we had versions of that ending where Woody was almost dialoguing a speech a little bit. We took everything out and just tried to find those two, and our animators are so good. If you really watch that scene, like it's all the nuance of the acting that they got that you just help believe it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm really curious about the spooky scenes.
Oh yeah.
I was wondering if you like debate whether or not to use them, or how did you test that?
We never debated it, because I like spooky stuff. And if you look at Toy Story 1, Sid's room is terrifying, you know, with all the mutant toys and everything. And Toy Story 2, I don't know if it has so much of a scary element.
No, but I think it's dark, but it's
Toy Story 3,
Toy Story 3.
they're basically going to hell.
Yeah.
And so there's the thing that we didn't just do it to be spooky. It was because there's stakes to the story. Like it is, you know, in Toy Story 2, the prospector says it's a dangerous world out there for a toy, and it's like, no, he's right. It is. You can't just go across the street like we can. It's life or death for them. So. And just those types of toys, I think I mentioned before, I really like. I had a ventriloquist dummy, and it's fun just to, antique stores are kind of spooky too, so we
Kids
kept
don't go there, yeah. There's
Yeah.
certain things you just look at it like a dummy, it's just creepy.
Yeah.
You don't have to move, right? Even a baby doll in some regards,
Yeah.
right? And so, I think it's back to the toy truth of it all. I just amp up the drums. We thought, that stuff with the dummies and even with Gabby, that was one of the first scenes where like, oh, there's the movie. Like that felt like
Something
that
new.
Felt new. Felt like something I hadn't seen before.
And then the other thing that made it even crazier was the animators. You know, we're always trying to stay true to the truth of the material that these characters are made of. So Woody doesn't walk like a person; he walks like a rag doll, right? And he can bend and get stepped on and all that stuff. So with the dummies, a dummy is built to sit on your knee and head move, but it's not built to walk. So the animators were the ones that tried having them kind of like step on their heels and just this real weird way, and it started to look like zombies. And I loved it. I was like, yes.
I also love that the dummies are made to talk. You know, you make them talk, so they're the only ones that don't talk. You know, like they actually just have
You have to have a
weird
person.
vocalizations.
Thank you.
Hi.
I've got her question here, and her question is, what was your intention when giving more weight to feminine characters in this movie?
Well, you know, we started this movie five years ago, and we've always worked hard. I mean, this is just sound like a blanket statement, but we've always worked hard to have really good gender balance and strong female characters in our film. We both worked on Inside Out, where we prided ourselves in joy as a character.
Joy
It's
and
one of our
sadness.
joy and sadness. I think two of our favorite characters we've ever worked on. And when we were looking at Toy Story and we were thinking about showing real change of Woody, there was a lot of discussion on like, well, how do you get it? And Bo Peep, we of course sat and we watched all the films again many times, and one observation was that Bo Peep is actually a really strong character. She's not in it much, and she's in the background, but she's the one that's always telling Woody, remember who you are, you know, look at your boot, it says Andy, and she picks him up, so to speak, when he's down. And so we thought, what if we just took that, this really strength and dignity in that, and just put it in the front, and let that lead. And so she became, what you used to say, is the catalyst for Woody's change. Like, she became the only reason we would make this movie. Without her, Woody wouldn't have that next level to get to. If he didn't, we said it this way, if you met Woody now, if you walked into this hotel and you met him, had a conversation, said, what's the biggest thing that ever happened to you? We wanted his answer to be the second time I met Bo Peep. That's knowing everything he's been through. We wanted her to have that much impact. So she just became the core of the film, right?
Yeah.
And we just worked hard to, we weren't trying to chase down an agenda or necessarily, but we want her to be nuanced and real. And we may have talked about this with some of you, but there was a group of the artists that we work with, animators, some people in the arts department, character modelers, people that build the characters, story artists, our writer. They kind of started calling themselves Team Bo. They're all women, and they would say, they would just kind of take her, even away from us a little bit. Like they would kick us out of the room, and they would say, we want to think about, we don't want her to become a trope of any kind. We don't want her to become a stereotype. We want her to feel very real and nuanced. And so we just did a lot of work to make her, and you know, Gabby and Giggle and, you know, and Jessie and Dolly, and, you know, the ensemble is full of really great characters, Trixie, but we wanted both to shine. So that's a long way to go, but it wasn't necessary. In short, chasing down an agenda to empowerment. It was just more about truth, authenticity.
It wasn't an agenda, but I have to say I'm proud of it. I love that there's probably more female characters. I should check this before I say it, but I think there probably are more female characters in this film than any of the other Toy Story movies, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And I love that. Why not?
Here's the other thing, just to add on to that. It's interesting, I worked on the first film. I was an intern and a production assistant, but I've been there through all the films and through many years, as have you. And we're just seeing a change at Pixar. I mean, it's just an organic change. If you were in our story room now, from Toy Story 1, this isn't a knock on Toy Story 1, but it's half women now. And in a lot of departments, too, we have 4 directing animators, and 2 of them are women. And you know, our head of story, Valerie Lapointe, our writer, Stephanie Folsom. So there's just more, I think, just opportunity to have truthful characters. It's less just to say it this way, and they would tell us it's less that guys thinking they know what a girl would do, which we've probably done, and more, hopefully from that point of view, that's a little more nuanced. So.
Hi, which is the most important human value in this movie?
The most important
human value.
I would say, for me anyway, it's the oh man, there's a few of them. I never really thought about this. The part where Woody goes to Gabby in the box, and that to me, that scene, it still hits me. I'm just thinking about how it was animated. Just being able to have empathy for somebody else like that maybe you didn't think was worthy of it early on. I think that's a huge, and I hope people take that away from this film.
Over here. Talking about the first Toy Story.
Yeah.
There was an after and a before for the animation. So today, how do you see this change of the industry, the future of the animation?
Yeah, you don't just mean technology. You just mean animation.
Animation and technology.
Hand in hand, I guess you're right. You know, our medium has always been a little bit of a medium of limitations. You know, what we can't show and how we have to cheat things, and that is eroding. I mean, there's kind of nothing we can. You'd pitch anything, rain and mud, and there'd be still some things that are trickier than others.
But they'd still be able to do it.
Do it.
It would just take a lot of time.
Yeah.
But we can kind of do anything. Go ahead.
I mean, the complexities of the frame, like Toy Story 4, I mean, one single frame of film, sometimes it would take 24 hours to render one frame. You know?
Yeah,
that's on the low side.
That's low. And on Toy Story 1, they were saying with the same computing power we have now, we could render that film faster than you could watch it, the whole film. So you could render the whole film in 80 minutes. You know? So you can just see the exponential jumps that the technology is taking, but the complexity of our frames chase it, so we kind of eat our gains. But we try to, in a weird way, turn all that off. When we think about the future of animation, one of the things that we're talking a lot about is CGI and what we do tends to, even our tool set tends to replicate reality a little bit. It's just to look real. And actually, we're not interested in that. We want Toy Story to look believable. We want it to feel like you're in the mud or in the rain, or that Bo Peep looks like she could break. All that's true. But we're interested in caricature and just trying to distill things down to, I mean, we still love cartoons, we love animation, so we're trying to find that balance. I think the future has something to do with chasing that down in ways we haven't seen. We've got a whole bunch of new directors with different styles and different voices coming in to develop films, and I'm just excited to see where they push and pull the technology. We've always said, you know, something that the technology is what inspires the art, and the art challenges the technology, and that's still true. There's this cyclical movement that happens.
Circle of life.
Circle of life.
I made that up just now.
So, and all that said, I do still believe it strips down to the simplest of storytelling, character, truth, some movie with an emotional core that you could hang all this